Uh, this is Brent McKnight, and today I'm chatting with Raymond Paquin, who together with Timo Busch and Suzanne Tilleman was this year's recipient of the ONE NBS Impact on Practice Award. Congratulations, Raymond. What an accomplishment.
Thank you. It's great.
Could you introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Raymond Paquin. I do research and teaching around corporate sustainability and corporate strategy. I focus a lot empirically around the phenomenon of industrial symbiosis, which is the exchange and reprocessing of production waste from one firm back into inputs or diversions into other saleable products. I'm on the faculty at the John Mollison School of Business. I've been here for 8 years now at Concordia University here in Quebec, Canada.
Fantastic. Could you tell us a few words about your experience with the organizations and environment field, ONE?
I find the field has been a lot of fun. There's a lot of interesting problems and interesting questions that stem from them. I found the division early on to be a very welcoming place, which I have to admit is part of why I've stayed active with them through the years.
Fantastic. Can you please tell us a bit about the ONE Award you just recently won, especially the path that took you there and the support that maybe made it possible?
So I think the award is a wonderful support for the work. The work is around industrial symbiosis and the idea of how do we create environmental and economic performance through environmental collaborations more broadly. The paper itself stems from a wonderful series of collaborations and just thinking through what are the sorts of questions we want to answer as we look to the field and look to the future of what is the role of business in society and the various crises we're facing. And this particular paper stemmed from a series of conversations with both Timo and Suzanne separately and then coming together. In particular, the data that's in this paper is part of an 8-year longitudinal study on the development of industrial symbiosis in Britain and its the impacts both on firms and on regional economic development. And I've always been impressed with Timo's ability to distill his ideas into clear and compelling narratives. And he was here as a visiting scholar, and I invited him out for coffee. And I basically said, I have this really cool data set. I've got some questions I'm playing with, but I'm sure there are more that I haven't even thought about. And so Timo and I sketched out a couple ideas, and then I went to work with them. A couple of them fell away, but the genesis for this paper really started to stand out. And as we started to develop it, I realized that I could really use some quantitative expertise, which I myself don't have much of. And Suzanne and I were working on related research. And so she already knew the field. She's an amazing quant person and had a good sense of the data. And so I shared it with her, and she helped flesh it out a bit more. And I asked if she could join us and help us make this happen. And then as we really started getting to the meat of it, we started to play with the paper. Somebody, I don't know how we learned of it, but somehow the conversation around a special issue with long-range planning came up. And the special issue was about environmental competitiveness under economic constraint. And the original intent of the call, I think, was around the economic recession. But our data was an earlier data set than that, but it was during a period of time where Britain was increasingly constraining firms' ability to manage environmental matters through additional regulation, additional landfill taxes, And to us, that made perfect sense, that this is a very clear and demonstrable type of economic constraint, and that is the changing of regulations, which is forcing firms to adapt. And so we reframed the paper around that. And we had a wonderful set of editors and reviewers with long-range planning, which helped us clarify it further. And then the magic happened.
Fantastic. Any advice you give to ONE members about pursuing their best work?
So this is the part where I feel rather intimidated by that question. I still feel like I'm learning how this field works in this craft of research. But I will say, in terms of this paper, and also in terms of much of my work, I guess from that perspective is I feel like I'm coming to know where my strengths and limitations lie as an academic. And so a lot of my work has benefited from realizing those limitations and looking into my network of friends and colleagues who are perhaps doing similar work, but through their work are clearly showing strengths in the areas that I need to really make what I'm doing shine. And for the advice that I have, such as it is that combination of awareness and seeking out those who are interested in getting involved and can help push your work further. And that's, I find this paper is an example of that. I'm not sure I could have made this paper happen on my own, but I do know it would have been significantly more difficult and a significantly longer process. But with the wonderful collaboration with Timo and Suzanne, we had the pieces we needed, and this paper came together very quickly. It's actually one of the quickest papers from genesis to publication that I've had so far, and it's been a great experience.
Fantastic. Get the right team together.
It was, and I would love to claim some sort of strategic foresight on that, but I feel like it was just a wonderful serendipity.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Raymond. It's great chatting with you about this.
Oh, thank you, Brent.